Book 4 is entitled Telemachus, Menelaus, and Helen. As we saw at the end of Book 3, Telemachus and Pisistratus are traveling from Pylos to Sparta. They arrive in Sparta, which is also named Lacedaemon, and that is the palace of Menelaus. We see wedding feast preparations that are happening. There are two weddings that are about to occur. One is that of Menelaus's daughter. She is getting married to the son of Achilles. And the other one is Menelaus's son, whose name is Megapenthes. He is getting married to the daughter of Alector. So we have two weddings that are taking place, very festive environment. Telemachus and Pisistratus are immediately welcomed, given a bath, are oiled, are given new tunics, and food and drink. Here is what a scene may have looked like. This is the type of bath that they would have. You see they go right in. They have the sandals. They're very dusty. These are oils in the background as well as food and drink that are waiting, new robes for them to put on. Telemachus is very impressed with Menelaus's halls, and he turns to Pisistratus and tells him about it, and Menelaus, who is passing by, overhears this. Menelaus briefly tells of the lands that he visited and says that some of the treasures came from his adventures in Troy and on the way home from Troy, but some of the treasure is also from his brother Agamemnon, and he received that after his brother was treacherously killed, and so it is a sad reminder of what he has lost. Menelaus then says that he grieves most for Odysseus from the war. He does not know if he is alive or dead. Telemachus then begins to cry at the mention of Odysseus' name. By this point, they are seated in the hall. As you see, here is Menelaus here. This would be Telemachus with Pisistratus next to him. And if this is Menelaus, this is Helen. You guessed that right. Helen comes out. She sits. She asks Menelaus about the guests. And then she notices Telemachus and she says how much he looks just like Odysseus. He must absolutely be Odysseus' son. Menelaus, after taking a good look at him, then agrees. Pisistratus says that yes, indeed, Telemachus is Odysseus' son, and everyone weeps because Menelaus remembers the war. Telemachus is missing his father. He and Pisistratus have become very good friends by this point in traveling, and Helen also remembers about the time of the war. Menelaus finally says, okay, that's enough. Let's have no more tears. Let's eat, and we're going to talk tomorrow. Helen then decides that she is going to help everyone forget their sadness by placing a drug inside of their wine. And so after that, they fall into storytelling. Helen tells a story about Odysseus. She talks about during Troy, Odysseus disguised himself as a beggar and was able to enter Troy, and only Helen knew who he was. Helen said that by then she had had a change of heart and wanted to return home, and that Odysseus was kind of laying out the plan of what was going to happen. Now, we're not quite sure if we should believe Helen or if we should just think that she's telling this story to Telemachus to make him feel better and what a great dad he is. Menelaus has another story to tell about Odysseus, and coincidentally it has to do with Helen, only in this case Helen is not the good wife that she's trying to come across as. Menelaus talks about how they were inside of the wooden horse, and Helen approached the horse and circled the horse 3 different times, calling out to the men that were inside the horse in the voices of their wives, hoping that they would go ahead and come out and it would reveal their plan. Odysseus, however, would not let them fall for it, and Menelaus recalls how sternly he talked to the rest of the chieftains to make sure that they would not do that. So after they ate and drank, dawn came. Menelaus comes to Telemachus and then asks him why it was that he came. Telemachus tells him of the trouble that's in his household and wants news of Odysseus. Menelaus is extremely outraged to hear of the suitors that are trying to take hold of Odysseus' household. On page 42 in the book, at the bottom of the page, we see one of the first examples of an extended metaphor. And if you could take a moment, pause this video, and turn to page 42 at the very bottom. We will read this together. In fierce indignation, the king answered, "Accursed cowards," he's talking about the suitors, "so eager to sleep in a brave man's bed. But listen, as when a fallow deer leaves the twin fawns just born to her in slumber in some great lion's den, while she herself goes roving and browsing over the mountain spurs and the grassy hollows, but then the lion returns to his lair and strikes the two sucklings with hideous death, so will Odysseus strike these suitors with hideous death. This is an extended metaphor, and it's really going to show how awful the suitor's death should be if Menelaus's wish comes true. Now I'd like for you to turn to page 43, the next page, and I would like for you to read pages 43 to 49. You will read starting with I was in Egypt. This is Menelaus talking about his adventures coming home from Troy, and you'll read pages 43 to 49 before continuing on with the next video. End of part 1.